in the strategic objectives of fair trade, digitalization, and climate resilience are top in the list. So one of the very first tasks, and this is taking me a lot of months of work already, is to understand what are the type of digital solutions or agricultural technologies that are more suitable for the conditions of different farmers. Because again, same as with climate change, the conditions and the capacities installed in different producer organizations will determine how much value a digital solution can bring, to the table. So starting by setting the goals of the farmer and then see what are the type of digital solutions that can provide, let's say, a prompt reaction to that. And this is important because in our assessment of what type of tools, because you can choose, there's so many entry points to the topic. You can work on big data, small data. You can work on georeferencing, forest cover loss, forest mapping, remote sensing, Internet of Things, wireless sensors connected to Internet of Things to know. So you can get overwhelmed by the type of providers and solutions and things that technology can bring. But then you have to go back and be more empathic with what are the conditions at farm level. And there's three aspects that comes very important in our assessment. The first one is infrastructure, because there's no connectivity. In most rural areas, there's still a lack of connectivity, and well, data consumption in mobile phones, for instance, is very expensive. So we have to be very cautious about the issue of connectivity and how much infrastructure is in place. It's not enough with having a laptop or a cell phone if those are not connected to the web. The second is education. And this, again, is important because, well, again, in many rural areas and producing regions, there's big gaps in education in general. But if you go and add new technologies and devices and how to use the device and how to better integrate ICT in your common daily work, then you add another burden, let's say another gap of knowledge in most of these people. So you have to work vis-a-vis with education and training modules. There's a funny thing here, when you see the different demographics, a young population is more, for them it's more attractive to start in using technology. So it's a good way to integrate this. For instance, a couple of years ago, I worked with Lavazza and Volcafe in a project in Colombia, and we targeted schools, and the project rapidly accelerated because of the adoption with young leaders. And the third is vertical integration, because most of these, let's say, producer organizations already have some technologies in place. And they already collect data because they have to provide information to the certification standards, to the auditors. They also have to provide information to the financiers. They have to provide information to the roasters, etc. So they have information systems. So these new technologies that will be providing a solution for the climate burden have to be integrated into the already existing data systems. So vertical integration to make more efficient the connection about information, analysis, and decision, it's very important. Again, as I was mentioning, I've been working to try to understand these conditions and have assessment tools that can help us to differentiate providers and technologies. The three main criteria that I'm trying to use among different, many others are the boundaries. If the technology is suitable for the capacity, define the boundaries is very important. The second is reliability. If the information that will be provided on these tools will be accountable and accurate for commercial partners, but also for producer organizations. And the third is empowering. It's kind of a rule of thumb that this has to increase the resilience and the capacities of producers, otherwise it doesn't make sense. That is one of the things that I've been focusing, and the other part of my work, well, just to mention in fair trade, I focus in on climate and environment. I have excellent colleagues working on coffee. So we coordinate, of course, and we have to integrate everything. For instance, the living income stream of work and the projects that we help to develop in countries like Uganda, Colombia, etc. But there's an internal recognition also that trade generates emissions. Trade per se, whatever you want it, local trade, international trade, domestic, there will be a footprint aligned with that. That's why since 2015, Fairtrade has a Fairtrade climate standard, when it's another possibility in a better transparent and participatory way to offset your carbon emissions using Fairtrade carbon credits. And maybe the nice characteristics of Fairtrade carbon credits is that, again, it goes hand in hand with transparency and the ownership and empowering of those community organizations or producer organizations that are generating the Fairtrade carbon credits. How it works? Well, it's very generic according to the voluntary standards, where you have a project, you certify that project with the gold standard, and then you have a double certification with Fairtrade for selling these carbon credits in the market, and then you can offset your emission using Fairtrade carbon credits. That's another way of dealing with this from another angle.